Ladies and gents, boys and girls, happy Monday, September the 19th, 2022. Appreciate you all tuning in. Chris Phillips here of the Daily Crow of the Spurs Up Show. Let's make sure we are good. Video, audio, we're good here on this Monday, rocking and rolling. We're here live, taking your questions, comments, calls, 843-790-3377. That is 843-790-3377. I see Carolina Titan, Connor McComish, Lance, Curtis Shell, Panic Ritter, Travi, Noah Johns, Dave Garrick, Travis Allen, Cody Gaskins. What's going on? Also, guys, you're in the Big Cock Club Discord. Head over to the TDC Questions channel. The TDC Questions channel. Be sure your questions are answered there. I already see Brennan M saying Therapy Monday. Craig Phillips says the first TDC after the massacre on Saturday. Nowhere to go but up. I hear you. It is a Therapy Monday. It's a different type of a Therapy Monday, but it is. Hey, let's jump into it. Thomas, what's up, man? How are you?
Hey, Chris, what's going on, man? You doing all right?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well. Just getting this week started. What's up?
Well, I have to admit, I was a bad fan, and I did not watch the game this weekend. I was actually on a company fishing trip, so I was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean while we were getting beat down.
Hey, don't even blame you, my guy. Don't even blame you, and I'm sure you looked at the score and were like, "Thank God that was the case."
Yeah. I'm glad I went fishing instead. I did catch some fish. So, but honestly, the reason I went was I was expecting it to go just about how I went. I mean, I don't think it's a stretch to say our program right now is 47 points away from being national champions, and that's kind of what it boils down to, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think at least 47 points. I mean, Georgia, Stetson Bennett didn't play the fourth quarter. You know what I mean? So if they wanted to hang 60, Georgia was well within reach of doing that. I mean, they were able to do whatever they wanted to do. So, it is the harsh reality. You're right. I won't blame people though here on this Monday for being frustrated about it. I just because I even talked about on the podcast that released this morning that I'm struggling because I'm someone I call it as it is, right? Like I'll be very blunt and honest about we don't have the players in certain areas to compete, right? But at the same time, it's like I don't think us asking to be competitive, just at least for a half, right? I don't think that's asking too much. I really don't, and we talked about year two. It's how you win, how you lose, all that jazz. And I understand Georgia's a totally different beast. So maybe this will just be the one-off of the season. But, if this trend continues of going into these big games and just getting your brains beat in, that's disturbing. You know what I mean? Because, again, we can live with a lot. But, man, just getting dragged like that. The game was never in doubt. You know what I mean? From the opening snap, it wasn't in doubt. So it's
right.
It's tough. It's just tough. It is. And again, you do have to tip your cap to Georgia, but man, it's just hard to watch. Really hard to watch.
Right. And I think this team will bounce back. They don't want to get embarrassed like that week in and week out. And if we do have to get embarrassed, I'm glad it's to the number one team and not to a team that we should be really competitive with.
Right. Oh, for sure. I mean, there's a reason Georgia Open is 26-point favorites. I mean, just bottom line.
And one other thing I wanted to discuss, I know this week is going to be Fire Satterfield week for pretty much everybody in the fan base. And I'll admit, like I said, I did not watch the game. I haven't gone back and watched it, so I haven't seen the play calling. But in my opinion, bringing in a whole new system, whether it be, God forbid, middle of the year, but definitely going into next season, that's going to set us back a little bit. Whether it's Luke Doty or Rattler coming back to learn a whole new system again, not really going to set us up for a good year next year either. So, yeah. But I'm gonna get off the phone, and I just thought I'd call in and give my 2 cents first thing. So,
no, Thomas, I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much for the call. Great stuff, yeah, and that'll be sort of the sentiment today, as we heard from Thomas Walker, guys. Also, we got Steven Garcia coming up in about 10 minutes or so stay tuned for that. Of course, guys, if before we go any further, I do want to tell you about our friends over at Prize Picks, because the Daily Crow is brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Go download the Prize Picks app. Go to prizepicks.com. When you do, use the promo code TSUS to receive a 100% deposit match up to $100. Guys, a lot of our listeners are winning big money with our friends at Prize Picks. You can bet on prop plays, any sport. Obviously, again, that's prizepicks.com and or the prize promo code TSUS. Start the ball lines. Justin, what's up, man? How are you?
Not much. Hey, Chris, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, man. Appreciate you asking. What's going on?
Hey, Chris, I see Marcus Satterfield has lost the fan base. You know that? Yeah, we lost control, D.
I mean, when your offense stinks, yeah, you tend to lose the fan base. So, and definitely Saturday. Listen, I know that we need to upgrade the roster across the board, but some of those third down play calls, man, you do yourself no favors. You really don't. The Dakereon Joyner 3rd down and 6, the first drop, that was baffling. That's still baffling. Some of the decisions to run the ball up the gut on 3rd and 8. Some of the play calls, man, really. But at the same time, I'll say this, though. At the same time, like, I see some plays out there, and Shane Beamer pointed this out, by the way. I see some plays out there that are there to be made, but our guys just simply didn't make them, whether it be because the offensive front broke down, which I think is a lot of the problem still. It's still a lot of the problem. Offensive front breaks down or Spencer doesn't make the throw or what have you. The play doesn't get made. But at the end of the day, like we talked about over the summer, I don't care what spin zone you want to put it in or what you want to blame or what excuse you want to make. This season's going to progress. It's going to go, right? We're just 3 games in, but this season's going to go throughout. And if we get to the final game and this offense has stunk all year, there won't be an excuse good enough, a spin zone suitable enough to make anyone want to bring him back next year. You just got to produce. At the end of the day, you have to produce. That's it. Bottom line. It's a results-oriented business. So I don't blame. Listen, I'm not, as I said on the podcast, I'm not going to sit here. I don't want to be the conductor of the Fire Satterfield train right now. I sort of feel right now about Satterfield how I felt about Mark Kingston. When it was like, I was like, I don't feel like I have to say anything about Kingston. The results during the season will seal his fate one way or another. Now, obviously, he's back. That's a whole different story. But with Satterfield, I just sort of feel like either we're going to be productive and get better, and he will save his job and be retained, or we're not, and we're going to be porous offensively. And I feel like at that point, it will be a no-brainer, right? So I guess when it comes to Satterfield and the offense and everything with him, I am waiting to see, okay, your first 3 games are in the books. Really, all 3 were not great matchups because of the mismatch up front. Your O-line's trash. Nope, sorry if that hurts feelings. It's not very good. It's a deficiency, right? Like, the offense as a whole isn't clicking. You got a bunch of new pieces. I just want to see now, over these next 2 weeks, is there massive improvement? And then Kentucky. Kentucky is where it comes to a head for me. Kentucky, if it's not clicking by Kentucky, if you can't go into election and have a positive offensive performance, I'm sorry, but it's probably scoring 30 points. If you can't do that, then that's kind of where I'll say, you know what? If you haven't figured it out by now, I just don't know that you're going to get it figured out. So.
Oh, yeah. And Chris, the thing about this is, look, man, Shane Beamer, he got to set this up, man, because let me tell you, you can't push your head down what happened this Saturday. He's got to, hey, take it like a man, and you got to make a change. You can't be a cheerleader all the time, right, Chris?
You said what now? You can't do what?
I mean, he's got to make a change, Chris, because he can't be like a cheerleader all the time.
They're not going to do that right now, man. And again, you did play the number 1 team in the country. You played the best defense in all of college football. They're not going to. If they're making a change, it's behind closed doors, and you won't know about it. I mean, they're not going to fire Satterfield today. That's almost why I'm not voicing it either, because there's just no point. Like, they're not going to make a change at OC after 3 games. They're just not doing it. So I mean, if they did, I'd be shocked. Maybe. I guess never say never in college football, but everything's got to get better. Coaching's got to get better. I mean, Shane Beamer pointed out players got to make plays. He literally said that. Go look at the quote we just dropped this morning. He just said players got to make plays, right? I mean, so guys I've talked to that played football for Carolina said, Chris, plays were there Saturday. They just didn't get made. So It's all got to get better top to bottom. I will fault no one though for bringing the heat to Sat. I will fault no one. Because again, you're the guy behind the scenes that's supposed to make this thing work, and it ain't working. It's not working. But again, was Georgia that's the thing. I picked 41-10. You know, I picked a blowout loss. My expectations were set very fairly, you know, but it's just watching it unfold and the way it happened. It's tough to stomach. It's just really tough to stomach. You know what I mean? It's being down 38-0, 45-0, or what at 48-0 before you score. I mean, it's tough to stomach, man. It's tough to sit through that. But we all knew last week, you know, you've had no run game this point. You haven't had much explosiveness at all. Offensive line has had its troubles. They got better from week 1 to week 2. And you know what? You're facing Georgia for all things considered. Fine. Whatever. Played fine, I guess. It played fine.
Oh, yeah.
But we knew that going against Georgia, that wasn't the week to figure out your offense. It wasn't the week to figure out your identity. It wasn't the week to really get it rolling. You know what I mean? So it's all about now these next 2 weeks, get the offense rolling, figure out what your identity is, what you want it to be, what you're good at. And then again, it all just comes to a head in Lexington because at some point, man, it has to click. At some point, it has to click. So we'll see.
I agree, Chris. Hey, Chris. Hey, Chris, before I got here, man, let me tell you something, man. I don't have to say this, but let me tell you something. Georgia's better, Doc. That's the way to put it, right, Chris?
I mean, Justin, that might be the most no-brainer thing of all time. Yes, Georgia's better than South Carolina. Yes, that is a fact. Yeah. No, I mean, I get – no, to your point, though, Justin, I get what you're saying. I mean, that's – we talked about it all last week, and I gave you a very realistic prediction and honest evaluation of the game. Georgia better than you at every single position, top to bottom. There ain't a single position on the field you're better than Georgia. Not a single one of them. So, and Georgia has elite depth. Elite depth. Difference between us and Georgia. Hey, Nicky Memori goes out for a play. What does Georgia do? What does Todd Monken do? The next play, they go after B.J. Gibson. I don't mean to single him out, but that's who came in. They go after a new safety. They got freaking they send a guy in motion. Gibson bites on it. There goes Brock Bowers down the seam. Bye-bye. See you later. So it's just but Georgia, they're bringing in a guy that's another 5-star, another big-time guy.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have that depth. And then you have the injuries on the defense. And so Georgia, let me put it to you this way. That Georgia game was not a great measuring stick of this program and this football team because Georgia's just light years ahead of you, and that's just the reality. And Georgia's going to beat a lot of people the way they beat South Carolina. And I still think, I come out of the game Saturday, like I still think winning 7 is still possible. I do think that's still possible. I just don't think Georgia was the quote-unquote measuring stick that anyone should look at and say, well, but, they're just better than you. I mean, the only team, again, I think they can hang with Georgia and beat them, of course, is Alabama. So
I agree. Yeah. Hey, Chris, and thing about Georgia is I picked to win the East this year. And people sit there and laugh and say, why you pick Georgia in the East? Mm-hmm. Because Georgia, I think they got shown depth, Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, Justin, I love you, my guy, but it is not a bold take to say Georgia was going to win the SEC East. I mean, you'd be, I think, kind of a lunatic if you picked anybody else. So Georgia's elite. They've got the best players, top to bottom, no doubt. So, Justin, we're going to jump into the call, my guy. I appreciate you chiming in, though.
Oh, yeah. Take care, Chris. Go
man.
Cox.
You too. Go Cox. Appreciate it. Here, let's jump to the phone lines here.
Call from
Will from Dirty Myrtle.
Here we go. Will, what's up, man? How are you?
I've been doing better. How about you?
I'm doing well, man. Appreciate you asking. Hey, just to give you an update, Garcia texted me. He's going to jump on at 12:30, so you got some time. So just wanted to just let you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so real quick, the good. The good is we scored a touchdown, which I guess we were the first to do that against Georgia. And also the good thing is that Oregon actually got beat worse than we did, and they looked pretty good on Saturday, beating another ranked team. So you can take some kind of positivity away from that. But other than those two things, It was a rough Saturday. I think we're all a little bit shocked at some of the play calling, how bad that was. Like some of those third down calls, I mean, to put Dak in right in the first drive when Rattler just made a pretty decent throw to Stoggs, and you know, on that next third down you put him in. I don't believe in that. The 3rd and 8 where you run it, and then you run it on 4th down when you didn't get it on 3rd down. Just demoralizing play calling personally. And then let's call it for what it is. We're all excited about Spencer, and I'm still behind him, but we're 3 games in, and he's got two touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Granted, we played some tough competition, but I don't think any of us were looking at the beginning of the year thinking that was going to be his stat line after 3 games. I just kind of wanted to get your thought process on that.
Side note, Will, did you watch the simulation in the preseason, the simulation?
I did.
It's wild how it's playing out that way, really, because it was like Rattler.
Yeah, other than the Georgia game.
Right. But Rattler, like in that simulation, threw like 9, he threw like 10 touchdowns, 11 picks. And I'm just like, man, maybe the sim is on to something. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, obviously we're gonna spend the front half of this week talking about that Georgia game, but it's dude, I really think it's a game you almost just have to flush and pretend it didn't happen. I mean, I don't know what else. I mean, it was varsity playing B team, dude. And again, the play calling was maddening. You know what I noticed more than anything though is I just noticed on both sides. I felt like I noticed so often Georgia just literally shoving us around. I mean, the amount of times I saw Austin Stogner get blown off the football, and I'm not trying to just like nitpick him, but I remember one play specifically where it was like a run left and he's blocking on that end. I mean, dude, he got pushed back like 4 yards. And then noticing Georgia, right? They were running swing passes. Georgia was running swing passes. But the difference in when Georgia was running a swing pass versus like when we run a swing pass, right? Georgia's dudes blocking us on the swing pass were like driving us into the ground. It's just like, so, I mean, again, I'm not excusing. I just noticed that during the game. Like it just, they were bigger, faster, stronger, smarter, everything across the board. So, I mean, it makes a guy like Sat look even worse. So, I mean, listen, it all falls on him. I think the Georgia game, again, was not a great measuring stick. And, we're 1-2, which is where we all thought we'd be. I mean, I guess that's the positive, right? It's not like we're 0-3. I mean, we're where we thought we were, 1-2.
Thank you.
But it's just the way it's happened and enduring it firsthand is, but I will say this, Spencer Rattler's got to play better, but anybody out there, and I already see the comments, people asking, should Doty get more reps? Should Joyner get more reps? Rattler's not the guy. I just think it's pure foolishness, man. I still think it's pure foolishness. Right. I completely disagree. So,
when I saw Rattler, because I mean, I like Rattler a lot, man. And I mean, I was super duper excited to get him, and I still think he could still do a lot of positive things for us this year. Because, like you said, everybody knew we were going to be 1-2. It's not a surprise, but it's just how we got there that kind of makes it a little demoralizing. But I just didn't like when Spencer threw that ball up. That really kind of, the second interception, he just threw it up there. It was just like he just hucked it, chucked it. And I'm like, come on, bro, you can't do that. And I know it's frustrating that you can't get nothing going on offense and you got to take a shot, but that just felt like I don't give a shit throw. You know what I mean? And I don't want to see that from him. But I feel like we can get back on our grind the next 2 weeks, and that Kentucky game is now do or die. Right. If you want to go and win 7 or 8 games, you got to beat Kentucky. If you don't beat Kentucky, we are going to be struggling to get bowl eligible.
And that's what I said all summer. I mean, that I saw folks, again, many folks, my good friend Brad Crawford, and there were some others too that picked this team to start 3-3 and even 3-4 and then win the next 4 SEC games in a row, Vandy, Mizzou, Florida, and Tennessee, and go 7-5. And I just felt like that really wasn't doable. You know what I mean? Well, maybe doable is a harsh word, but not likely. So
right.
I know how we feel today. I know how we feel today. I know how I feel today, at least.
Thank you so much, sir.
But you lose to Kentucky, and you're 3-3 and 0-3 in SEC play going into the bye week, and it's just going to be really rough. I mean, it's going to be really rough times. So,
I mean, I'm personally last thing. I'm a little scared, man. I'm a little worried that I had a lot of high hopes for this year. Thinking we were going to have a better year than we did last year, and I think we all know that we're that Kentucky game away from not maybe getting to even the 7 wins we had last year. When you look at the games down the road, the Floridas, the Tennessees, the Clemsons, that Texas A&M, a lot of those games are games we might not win. So, it's just a little scary, man. I hope we can get this thing righted because, like you said, we go into Kentucky and we lay an egg. There's a lot of people going to be on the chopping block.
right. No,
There's
listen.
a lot of people going to have to make answers.
Yeah, listen, I'll be pissed. I'll be pissed too. I mean, that's what I'm saying with the offense. It doesn't click by Kentucky. I don't know that there's hope that it ever will click.
But anyway, brother, I'll hang up and listen, man. Have a good one.
Will, I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much. Guys, 843-790-3377. Steven Garcia going to join us in just a moment. Steven taking care of some stuff today, getting back into town. So excited to chat with him, get his thoughts. I mean, again, guys, I would say this. I come out of Georgia, extremely frustrating game, got our tails beat. I still think going – I mean, listen, what's crazy is this. Did I expect us to struggle as much as we did in the season opener? No, I did not. All right? I did not expect that. Arkansas and Georgia, I could say, have damn near went how I thought they would. Now, Georgia, I thought it'd be more competitive. I really thought it would be more competitive. Certainly, I thought we would lose.
It's Howard.
Let's jump to the phone lines.
To accept.
What's going on, man? How are you?
No, I'm good, my guy. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Appreciate you asking. What's up?
Man, first off, the welcome home hat. That's a Fuego lid.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So we lost to Georgia. We kind of all knew it was coming. I just didn't expect it to be a landslide. I understand what everyone's saying. Yes, our offensive line needs to improve. They somewhat have. Spencer, he's an asset. He's a positive we added. I can't blame it completely solely on him. He could have had a better game, which after watching this game in their pressure situation is another reason why I'm hoping. And I feel like he might be back next year because some of the throws and inconsistencies he had in that intense pressure situation, that's something that I think with the right OC, definitely not Sattershit, but under the right coaching of Beamer, can be polished up and made into an NFL stud. He's got the intangibles. He's got the raw talent. It's got to be polished up. With the OC caller, Marcus Satterfield reminds me of a kid who got a bunch of toys for Christmas, and he got this one favorite one, and that's all he knows how to do is play with it. Swing, pass, run. Run, swing, pass, run. It's not working. And then I agree completely with what you posted on the Facebook page, the call that ended it for a lot of Gamecock fans, the 3rd and 8. It's 3rd and 8, and we're running the ball against Georgia. The only way Satterfield can impress me and make me not say just, fire Satterfield is I need him and Coach Satterfield, with all due respect, if for any reason you're listening to this podcast, I need you to take your right hand and cuff it and reach between your legs and squeeze and still see if you have a pair, because your play calling is not indicating it. Winch, this could be a reason why I'm not a SEC offensive coordinator. But in my mind, we come out against Arkansas and we open the playbook up more. We've seen Spencer take shots. We kind of gambled. Versus Georgia, it was very conservative. There was no creativity. There's been no creativity. So in my mind, it was like, hey, we're down 3 scores. In the word of John Mox's dad, bring that pigskin, throw the ball, just fire us up, do something. I just had to get that off my chest. Other than that, go Cox, man. I'll be taking it off air and listening to your rebuttal. I got to get back to work. I just couldn't stand it anymore, dude. Yes, there's things that our players need to improve on,
but shit rolls downhill in the real world. And the OC, I don't know what that guy's doing. Appreciate it. Go Cox.
Appreciate it. Well said. I mean, listen, well said. I think he speaks for a lot of us. Yeah. I mean, what did he not say that I could say? I mean, that was it, man. Drop the mic. Yeah, a lot of questionable play calls, and it certainly doesn't help, right? When you're playing a team like Georgia and they're already going to make a good play call and not look good. So when you have a not so good play call, it's going to look really terrible. Yeah, no, listen, we talked about it all preseason. You traded in the beat up Hoopty for a Ferrari, and if it didn't work right, it was going to be the driver, not the car. And I just, to this point, through 3 weeks, and there's still a lot of season left, a lot of football left. But again, there's losing, and then there's getting your asses beat, and then there's what we watched on Saturday. And I think that's where it's really tough for people to. And again, I don't think anybody, no matter the talent gap. I said this on social media. No matter the talent gap, I don't think anybody should just be accepting of what they saw on Saturday. I don't think anybody should, especially folks who are Gamecock Club members, who are going to games, who are paying their hard-earned money, right? Ain't nobody should be okay. It don't matter who you are. You don't have to be going to games. You're watching this team and you're wearing the garnet and black. You're investing your time and your energy. Like, nobody should be satisfied with that effort. I don't care. I mean, listen, we can point out the obvious stuff. Georgia's better than you. They got more talent. They got more depth. They're an elite. I will continue to point that out. But that doesn't mean we should sit here and just take it and be all happy and, well, it's okay. They're just really good. Like, it just, the thing that kills me is just the lack of competitiveness. That's what kills me. The lack of competitiveness. And I tell you, I'm just so tired of watching teams that don't have good offenses. And I'm not even just talking football. I'm talking baseball can't hit right now. Basketball's had trouble scoring. Men's, I should say. Let's also point this out too, by the way, because I tell you this. I think top to bottom as a football team, as a whole, South Carolina's got to play better. Defensively, you forced 1 turnover in 3 games. Guys, we talked about this in the preseason. Biggest question mark for the defense. Can they get turnovers at the rate in which they did last year? And if they don't, are they still a good defense? Again, it's only been 3 weeks, and you've played 2 top 10 teams, but the answer through 3 weeks is no, a resounding no. Guys, let's go ahead and get him on. It's 12:28 every single Monday. The Roach King joins us to break it all down. Roach King, what's up, man? How are you?
I've been better, man.
You doing all right? You struggling a little bit? Case of the Mondays?
God, man, that was flying up there is just it's almost easier to drive, to be honest with you.
From Tampa, yeah.
Yeah. The connecting flight. I'll tell you what, I'll never fly to Atlanta ever again. I will never do it.
Tough airport.
Golly. Yeah, it was not fun, but yeah, I mean, it was a long weekend. So, I was there since Thursday morning, and obviously the game didn't help anybody in garnet and black colors. So, yeah, it was a tough one for all of us.
Yeah, I was going to say, Steven, outside of that, how was the weekend? Because we all saw you were with Steve Tannehill, and
yeah.
I know you were out and about in the town and everything. How was it being back in Cole? How is it for you coming back, I guess?
It was awesome. Had a great turnout at Grains on Friday. Got a chance to see Jen Kirkman from KW. He's been a family friend for 2 decades now throughout the beer business. But yeah, man, just it was good seeing everybody. And believe it or not, that was the first time ever going to group therapy. And holy shit!
You went to the Friday after class thing, right? Didn't you go to that?
Yeah. But I'm saying that was the first time ever being there, and I was like, this place is absolutely insane. Oh my God.
They have a good time there for sure. That's a fun little watering hole, if you will.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
Yeah. Well, like you mentioned, the game made the weekend rough, and we'll go ahead and get into it. Just first, I want to get your take and impressions on Georgia, because I think that's where I know, this is obviously, we call it, Stephen, Therapy Monday. And for many, many folks, that's what these types of Mondays serve as. And this one even more so than last week, because I feel like last week, we were sitting here, hey, there's positives to take away, even though you lost. But when you lose 48-7, I don't think you're leading on Monday with, well, let's talk about all these positives that came from the game. But you do really have to start with, like we talked all last week, man, Georgia is, they're just loaded. Every single position, they've got elite depth. They are truly one of the elites in college football. I really believe it's them and Alabama. They're just in a class of their own at this point.
For sure. It's them and Alabama, and it's almost like Georgia's kind of taking the lead now as far as like being the most dominant team in the whole country. They are a well-oiled machine, and that was tough to watch, man. But they're the number one ranked team for a reason. I'm pretty sure they're number one right now, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah. They took over that number one spot last week. So yeah, well deserved number one. Yeah,
for sure. They on every facet of the football team. Their offense, offensive line, run game. Just quarterback. Everybody's just kind of firing on all cylinders. And I was talking with a couple older players, and they were just like, dude, the confidence level that Georgia's playing with, like they just know walking into every stadium, they're just going to beat your ass like down. So that's kind of confidence that you like to have from a team, and it doesn't look like we have that right now.
Yeah, you can definitely tell because you listen to Kirby after the game, and they're talking about that defense is expecting to give up 0 points. Like and you got to have confidence to be playing with that type of expectation, that type of elite level, if you will. We'll start, Stephen, obviously with the offense, and I want to get to the defensive side because they need to we need to talk about that as well. But obviously, offensively, a lot of the conversation centers around some of the decision-making, the play calling, if you will. And again, we're going to get specifically into the players themselves and the play on the field. But just what you saw from the Gamecocks' offensive game plan. I know it's really tough. It's much easier said than done to say, well, just devise a game plan to go up against number one Georgia, the best defense in college football. That's why I said last week I was not envious of Satterfield and Beamer having to sit there in the film room and be like, how are we going to attack these guys? But, of course, listen, when the offense doesn't perform, the offensive coordinator is going to hear it. And it's interesting, though. You hear fans and the cries for fire Marcus Satterfield come out, or there needs to be a change, what have you. But I talked to former players behind the scenes. I talked to a guy like Jake Crane that, used to coach football. I talked to a buddy of mine who's coaching in college football right now. And all they tell me is how overrated scheme is. And they say it really does just come down to players. And they say, and this comes directly from a guy who's in the SEC coaching, Chris, bad players make bad, or coaches look bad. Average players make coaches look average, and great players make coaches look great. So when you look at the scheme and the game plan, like where do you fall on that? Because again, from others I've talked, they said there were plays to be made there Saturday, and they just weren't being made. So is it a mix of both? Because everybody wants to pin it on Marcus Satterfield right now.
Yeah, and shit flows downhill. So it's if he's going to catch the blunt of that, he's going to catch the blunt of it. That's just what it is. But that being said, I remember there was a saying. I'm not sure exactly if I'm going to butcher this or not, but it was like, it's not about the X's and O's. It's about the
Jimmys and Joes.
Yeah. So, it's 100% accurate. When we had Lattimore, or we had Jadeveon, or we had Alshon, we had these guys. It's not like, hey, I need you to run this directly at 12-yard route. You got to run it exactly at 12 yards. You don't get 12 yards, we're in trouble. It's like, no, man, if he runs 8 yards, if he runs 10 yards, I'm sure he's going to make a play. And that's just, it's kind of like how that is, man. And we just got to get back to the recruiting side. It's really tough when you got guys in your backyard that are winning national championships, talking about Clemson. They're recruiting their ass off. You got Georgia winning the national title. Everybody's just recruiting at that next level, and we got to get there in a hurry. And that's just what it comes down to.
But on that note, I will ask you, Stephen, did your thoughts on the game plan? Did you feel like there was something they didn't do you would have liked to have seen more of? Or again, like you said, was it just simply you thought they had a good plan, but Georgia's just that good?
Yeah, everybody's got a plan until you get hit in the face. And they hit the shit out of your face, and they want to make sure that that they hit you. So, I would have liked to see a couple more. As stupid as it sounds, a little more trick plays, a couple more, I don't know, but I know that's kind of like real gimmicky. But at the end of the day, man, you got to do something kind of changed the momentum. Doing the bubble screens and the slants and the draw. I mean, it's just you got to take some shots when you're playing against the number one team. You just got to.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you talk about Spencer Rattler, and obviously, again, the second guy in that chain, shit flows downhill. I think the quarterback's the one that's going to catch the heat. And, you look at that game again on Saturday. It's against Georgia. He has the 2 interceptions. Just talk about what you saw from Spencer. I think the number one thing that I think everybody's seeing at this point now, Steven, and I think a lot of it, maybe, some of it comes back to him not trusting his line. It just goes back to what you were saying since the jump. He moves his feet a lot. I mean, he does not look comfortable in the pocket. Let me just put it that way. Like from what I can tell, he's not, and again, it's Georgia, so I'm not surprised he's not comfortable, but your overall thoughts on Spencer Rattler's play. What did you see? I know that's a really tough, it's hard to draw conclusions, I guess, or look at that as like, well, that's your test and that's it. And that's who you are, right? Because I'm sure they're going to perform well against Charlotte, SC State, and you go throughout this season, if you will, with much more manageable competition for where we're at right now. But, your thoughts on Rattler and just his play, and it was just kind of another tough day for him.
Yeah. Like I said, man, in that very first game, I just, everybody's like, oh, the offensive line is, trash. They're this and that. It's like, there was times where, you got to bail your offensive line out. You got to throw the damn ball away. Don't hold the ball for 5 seconds and expect these guys to hold the guys up. I mean, it's, when you're holding the ball for that long, it's tough to hold your ground. So, I mean, like I said, the same thing. He is, I feel like, in my personal opinion, that he's moving around a lot. He's seeing the rush, not necessarily feeling it. He's more seeing it. And it's a lot different than the Big 12, it just is. So they got to figure something out, man. I know I keep saying they got to figure something out, but people are starting to lose patience. And when you get your ass handed to you, by 41 points, then it's, especially at home, that people are heads are going to start wanting to be rolled.
And I think, Steven, that's what's really tough to stomach, because I mean, I'm sure you saw, I picked 41-10, right? Like I'm going to keep it a buck. I'm going to keep it real. And if I think we're going to get killed, I'll just tell you, I think we're going to get killed and try to not sugarcoat it. But like, even with my pick, I just, it's tough because I expected Georgia to flex their muscles. They're an elite for sure. But like, also I don't think it's asking too much to ask a football team or asking Carolina to be competitive. You know what I mean? Just for a little bit, little bit. If they wear you down and Georgia shows, what, I think we can all live with that. But it's like you mentioned, it's like, we came in a year 2 saying, it's more so a little bit this year about how you win and lose and show. I think what it is, fans, people want to see progress. And it's like, how do you quantify progress? Because I agree with you on the progress of the program. And as long as recruiting is staying positive and is doing well, then Shane Beamer is doing what he needs to do to build the program. That's not even worth discussing. I think they're obviously crushing on the recruiting trail, but fans just want to be able to cling to some sort of progress. Again, Georgia's not the team to, try to, I guess, get that out of, if you will. But
yeah,
it's just tough. Like 24-0 at half. It's 38-0 in the third quarter. You're just like, dude. Because we see it on a weekly basis. Teams in college football, stay in games with teams they have no business staying in with. And it's just like, is it really good enough to just, well, Georgia's just better than us, so they're just going to wipe the field with us. It's just,
right.
It's tough to stomach. It is.
100%. I'm reading some of these comments right now, and it's kind of funny. It's like App State has better Jimmys and Joes than A&M, or no, I guess they're saying better than we do. But yeah, App State is playing. You were talking about confidence. App State, and I talk to Chase Bryce literally almost every single day. That is as confident as a football team as you can possibly have right now. And I mean, that's what I just don't see this out of us. I don't see the confidence exuding that, we're going to go in there, we're going to hang at least 40 points on you. Like, I don't care who we're playing against. We're going to put the ball in the air. We're going to score points. And, you look at App State, and they're going in there and he's throwing the shit out of the ball all over the yard. So I'd love to see that to kind of circle back and, talk about like what I'd like to see out of our offensive, system, but I'm not seeing it at all.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you on that note, Steven, like, because I don't think we've seen that from the jump. And so it's like, where, I guess it's hard to point out, like, why is that? Or where does that come from? But it is interesting, you point that out. And it's like, we're not playing with a whole lot of, at least it doesn't look as if we're playing with a whole lot of confidence or swag. And again, that's not just a Georgia game thing. That's from literally like the opening snap. That's from the opening snap this season.
Yeah. And you know what? Who knows? Who knows what it is? That's one disadvantage I feel like the NIL kind of caused is some of these guys are getting paid a lot of money, and they're just like, who gives a shit if we win or lose? Like, I'm going home and I'm driving a freaking brand new Mercedes. Like, I just don't really give a shit. So, that's one disadvantage I think of the NIL, and I don't want to even say anything that's the case in that locker room,
Right.
but that's just kind of my general opinion of the whole thing, man. I just remember, man, like I'd have cookouts and guys to my house every single Sunday after the game. It's like, that was fun. We either won or we lost, and it's like, fuck it, we gotta be a team. We're gonna get back confident, and just you gotta have that team camaraderie. I don't know what it is. Again, I'm not in the locker room. I just don't see a whole lot of that right now.
Yeah. And I mean, to point it out too, and not trying to put you on blast, Stephen, but you're talking about how much it meant to you. I mean, I remember, I don't know if folks remember this, by the way, after that Papa John's Bowl, wasn't that the game? I think you were tearing up in the post game.
Oh,
I remember that. Yeah.
I cried like a little bitch, man. I fucking hated it. I hated it because I was kind of like the young guy on the team, and I hated that, the seniors and the guys that were going to the league, like I hated that they had to go out with such a shitty performance. And yeah, I know it was cold. It was freezing. It was the coldest game that I've ever played and ever been to this day. But yeah, I mean, I hate even talking about it. That was just, I don't know, man. I'm a passionate guy, so I like to wear my emotions on my sleeve.
Yeah, for sure. One last thing, Stephen, and we'll get off the Georgia game mercifully. On the defensive side, I mean, you have 5 starters out. Even if you had all hands on deck, it was going to be a really tough task. I just want to get your thoughts on what you saw from Georgia. I mean, the Gamecocks obviously have to improve defensively. Just have forced just 1 turnover in 3 games. That's got to get better. You got to do a better job getting the ball off people. That's what Shane Beamer has said. Everybody in that building has said. But I think we can put the whole Stetson Bennett as a game manager thing. I think we can put that to bed.
I hope. I still are people still saying that?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't follow it closely enough, I guess, to what the folks are saying, but I'm sure they're out there. But I mean, dude, he's proven. I mean, I think he's probably got to be one of the front runners in the Heisman right now.
I would hope
the way he's playing. So
yeah. And it comes down to confidence, man. They won the championship last year, and they're just playing with the most confidence that I've seen in a college football team in a while. That includes Alabama when they were steamrolling everybody, and I mean, they just know that they're going to go out there and beat your ass.
Now, Stephen, let's move forward. You get your ass beat. How do you bounce back? How do you come into this week now? Again, it's on this Monday. You're preparing. You've got Charlotte, SC State the next 2 weeks. Those are 2 very manageable opponents. And Stephen, you talk about confidence, because that is extremely important, right? I mean, the game's all mental. I mean, it really is. Every sport, it's all mental. You talk about who you're playing this upcoming week. Charlotte is dead last in defense. They're giving up like 560 yards per game, 45 points per game. This is the week to get confidence. So, I mean, how do you bounce back? I mean, I'd assume it starts in practice, rallying your guys, banding together, if you will. But like, what's the, from a former player, what's sort of the methodology, if you will, to bounce back in a big way and get back, right the ship, if you will?
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I remember we lost 56-6 against Tebow in 2008. I'm pretty sure it was 2008, down there in the swamp. And I remember going after on the bus after the game. And this may sound like pretty fucked up, but I mean, we were just kind of like joking on the bus. We're like, what are we gonna do? I mean, we got our asses beat. I mean, we can't sit there and sulk our heads. And I'm pretty sure Coach Sparrow's like, we're not even watching that tape. Like, that game did not happen. Let's completely put that shit behind us and, go to the next game. I mean, that's what you have to do. Otherwise, you're just going to beat yourself up and just feel like a bigger piece of shit. If you watch yourself on tape the next couple of days getting your ass whipped, it's not good. So I think, moving forward, I think you just put that game behind you. Try to maybe talk about some positives that came out of that game, which there aren't many. But try to bring up some sort of positives and get ready to go. Because like you said, the team we're playing, Charlotte, dead last in offense. If we don't put up a shit pile of points, I don't know if Satterfield will make it out alive. And I like him. I like him as a coach. I like him as a person. He's always been cool to me. So I mean, I like the guy. But he's got to use this game to really get his name back in good graces.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, we all say it's a results-oriented business. I mean, you got to put up numbers, and especially when you add guys like Spencer Rattler and all these pieces. Let's talk about Rattler. Again, he can use this week, right, to build confidence. And, I mean, biggest area of opportunity for him in regards to making strides and having a positive performance? Like, is there one thing you're like, is it setting his feet? Is it being more comfortable in the pocket? Like, what's the thing he absolutely needs to at least begin doing in this Charlotte game to set up success for the rest of the year?
Sit in the pocket and make the throw, not try to scramble around, not try to do all the other stuff. Yeah, I think just get the ball out of hand and just be accurate and get the ball in the playmaker's hands, as quick and as often as possible. But again, I still like to see the ball like down the field. I don't know if that's just kind of like our system, our play, what we're trying to identify as is, kind of a dink and dunk West Coast offense. But I'd love to see, the kid's got a live arm. I'd love to see the ball down the field and, hopefully come down with it and make some damn plays.
And I think you can use this game, Stephen. Again, Charlotte struggled so mightily defensively. You can use this as a confidence builder for your entire football team. And I certainly, by the way, I don't want to sit here on this Monday and take Charlotte for granted and just say, well, we're just going to go out there and beat them by 50 because college football is crazy. And, God forbid, this is not a team that needs to take anybody for granted at this moment in time. I mean, Charlotte, I don't know if you saw this, Stephen, they just beat Georgia State over the weekend. So, you know what I mean? Like, they obviously have some players, right? I think they beat them like 42-41, but they did indeed beat them. So, you need to go out, execute, play good football. Obviously, you do that, you should be able to get the victory and get the victory pretty handily. I mean, you're a 22.5-point favorite, I think, right now at this point. But
starting early is very to get on their ass. 21-0, first quarter, just boom, 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 and then I think we'll kind of see that confidence kind of start coming out.
Yeah, I was going to say the last thing you want to see as a team, like you were mentioning, hanging their heads, like the Georgia game almost like beats you twice and you're sleepwalking through the first quarter. And, there's already going to be – you need something to feel good about as quickly as possible.
100%. I just saw that's a noon game again?
Well, so this weekend is actually 7:30. South Carolina State was announced today as a noon kickoff.
Okay.
So that'll be the next weekend. So
well, I'll be up there for that.
Yeah. So a little nooner for the SC State game. Love that.
Yeah.
Another early tailgate. Love that.
Yep.
And I know we'll figure out, we'll collab on that stuff. I'm just thinking here, last thing before we get you out here, Stephen. Again, I feel like I'm going to sound like a broken record to continue to ask you this, but thoughts on identity moving forward. I feel like you've got Charlotte, SC State, then you got Kentucky and Lexington. That's where this season sort of comes to a head, I feel like, in regards to shit or get off the pot. Like, which way is your season going to go? You need to build an identity that best suits the talent you have on the roster, the talent you have in the offense. But you look at this team, you're like, this is what this team's identity should be. Does it stand out to you at all? Like, obviously they got to run the football better. They've just got to run the football better. I think it just all comes down to that, really.
Yeah, but I don't see an identity at all.
Yeah.
So I don't even.
You got to build one. You got to use these next 2 weeks to build one.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
So we'll see, man. Like I said, we got to jump on these guys early, and not let them stick around, because if that starts happening, then it's. I think the boo birds may be coming out. Right. And that's never fun. That's not a really good confidence booster.
No, I was going to say, Stephen, for you guys, the mentality going in games like this, I think of it from the baseball perspective, like when you're playing your non-conference, like you're like, man, this is the time to, kind of flex, boost your stats. Like, these are stat booster games. Like, again, 100%. Don't take your opponent for granted, but I'm sure, again, coming from your perspective, when you're a player, it's like, bro, let's go out here and throw up 100. If we can, you know what I mean? Like, 100%. Boost the stats up.
Yeah. Yeah. But it starts with the week of practice, man. If you go in there and you're just kind of bullshitting around, and like taking it for granted, these guys are D1 college football players. They're not just a bunch of morons. They may come around and hit you in the face if you're not careful. So I think, like I said, I think you forget about this past game. Try to figure out whatever positives you can from this past Saturday, and get your confidence back, and just have a great week of practice. Have everybody flying around. Don't let anybody just kind of coast through the week, and then go out there and put on a show on Saturday night.
Stephen, well said, my friend. Always appreciate your insight. Always appreciate you taking the time, and looking forward to a lot more cheerful Saturdays, much more cheerful Saturdays than the one we had this past weekend. So
I hope
so.
We'll link up in 2 weeks.
Yeah, for sure. We'll go ahead and get that taken care of early in this week and fire it up. So you guys stay tuned for that for sure. But yeah, like I said, Steven, I truly appreciate you taking the time, my friend. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely, man. We'll see y'all.
Yeah, man. We'll talk soon. Great stuff. Steven Garcia, former Gamecocks quarterback. Guys, we're going to go ahead and jump into a quick break. On the other side, though, we're getting back to taking your questions, your comments, your calls. More of that on the other side. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. All right, guys, we're back. Taking your questions, comments, calls. 843-790-3377. That is 843-790-3377. I want to say thank you again to Stephen Garcia, former Gamecocks quarterback, taking the time to give his thoughts on the game on Saturday. That's just, when you lose 48-7, I don't know that there's really a ton to dissect and break down and say other than you got your ass beat. So, hopefully, obviously, this is a football team. I thought it was really interesting, his comments on confidence, right? And the confidence level that this football team is playing with or not playing with, you can say. You got to start to build that confidence this week and the next 2 weeks. I mean, it's just got to happen. You need a positive performance in regards to the offensive side. And I mean, in a big way, man. I really think the goal of the next 2 weeks should be to score 50 plus both games. I mean, I know that's going to, we might not even score, whatever. I understand where that's coming from because, we're all reeling or spiraling after the loss to Georgia, but you got to find a way to put up big numbers. I mean, you just have to, flat out, bottom line. It's just got to happen. It's just got to happen. Because again, here's the thing. I picked this team to start 1-2, right? I picked this team. No, see, Coach Ford, I disagree. I don't think these 2 weeks mean squat. Listen, I understand. Just because you beat Charlotte 50-0 and SC State by 50-0, it doesn't mean that you're going to go win 8 games this year. That's not what that means, but you desperately need it. You need something to feel good about. You need to build confidence. You do. You need to build confidence going into Kentucky. You need to be healthy. You need to be confident. You need to have success on the offensive side. You need to find something, right? So I think these 2 weeks mean a lot, actually. I think these 2 weeks are important. It's important to play well. It's important to go beat up on somebody. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you go beat Charlotte 50-0 and all is right in the world again, but you desperately need to go play well. You do. You desperately need to go play well. You need to go have some success running the football. How about that? Have some success running the football. So, that absolutely needs to happen, no doubt. Anyways, guys, 843-790-3377. Again, thank you so much to everybody who tuned in to Stephen Garcia's segment. I see my guy, Mitch West, SC Weather on Twitter. Appreciate you tuning in. Thank you so much for the love on social media, my dude. I don't know if you're tuned in right now, but I appreciate it. Y'all go check out Mitch on Twitter at SCWeather_WX. Really, really good stuff from him. Another great content creator on the weather side of things. Anyways, phone lines are open, guys. I know y'all got plenty to say. Here. Let's see. By the way, in case you missed it, SC State is indeed a noon kickoff. That is a noon game on the SEC network. SEC network. Let's see. Greg Bedinger in the TDC Questions channel says, Kentucky's better than us. We should not expect to win based on our play so far this season. Time to face facts, and the next 2 opponents will tell us nothing. There you go. Let's kind of scroll back and get into these questions. Here we go. Go ahead and jump to the phone lines.
Call from
Robbie Davis, Zaxby's Hall of Famer.
To accept.
Robbie, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
Well, aside from us getting our ass whooped Saturday, I'm doing fantastic on this Monday. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Appreciate you asking. What's up?
Well, the Georgia game went about as expected, right? We expected to get our ass whooped, dragged into an alley, beaten to death, and robbed. And that's literally what happened. Okay. Coming into the next 2 weeks, even though, yes, they're against, quote, end quote, lesser opponents, right? You got to play with some dadgum heart, doggone it. The next 2 weeks, you got to play with some heart. Talent don't mean. At this point, I don't give a crap what kind of football player you are. You got to play with some dadgum, some heart and some freaking, some gusto, doggone it, okay? Because in a couple of weeks, we got to travel to Kentucky. And if we play the way we played against Arkansas Now, we wound up making it somewhat close against Arkansas, but we got lucky that Arkansas didn't beat the dog mess out of us, okay? Because our tackling was just awful. But if we need to play the next 2 weeks, we need to play with some heart, some freaking pride, okay? Play with some pride. And I don't care if we're up 50 to nothing. Score again. I don't give a damn. Score 70, score 80, score 90. I don't care. Score 100. I don't give a damn. The whole point is to score. The defense's job is to stop you. I don't care. Score. Try to break the record for most points scored in a game. I don't give a damn. Score. Because if we play anything like that these next 2 weeks, South Carolina State can beat you. Do I need to remind people of what they did last year? They won the historically black college championship last year. South Carolina State is not going to be a pushover, okay? And Charlotte, well, you said before you went to break, you said Charlotte beat Georgia State this past Saturday by what, 1 point?
Yes, they did.
Okay, enough said. So Charlotte, listen. Once I don't care if we're up by 21, score again. I don't care. I don't care if we're up by 200, score again. I don't care. Beat South Carolina State's ass and beat Charlotte's ass and play with some pride. And win these next 2 games and go into Kentucky with at least something, with some pride, and we go into Kentucky with a little bit of pride, a little bit of confidence, and take care of business when we play Kentucky. Because Stoops deserves an ass whooping for what he said at SEC Media Days. For what he said at SEC Media Days, Stoops, he deserves an ass whooping. I ain't got nothing but respect for him, but for what he said, he deserves an ass whooping.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be it's crazy how it's sort of playing out the way I said in the preseason, but again, that game will serve as an inflection point in the sense of, if you're going to overachieve, the over-under in Vegas was 6.5. And Gamecock fans scoffed at that. Oh my God, 6.5. That's just, we got Spencer Rattler now. We got, this guy is disrespectful. Well, Vegas knows. Right. So if you beat Kentucky, you have an opportunity then to still win 7. God forbid, maybe even 8. Lose to Kentucky and you're fighting to get to 6. 5 and 7's in the cards. It's very realistic. So yeah, I mean, but the focus obviously is these next 2 games, and you need a pair of 30 to 40 point wins. I mean, really, truly, you do. You need a pair of 30 to 40 point wins. You need to get the run game going. You need to figure out who the hell are your top targets on the outside. Spencer Rattler needs to develop some freaking confidence, right? Everybody needs to develop some confidence. We need to see a defense that's swarming. We need to see a defense that's forcing some turnovers. These next 2 weeks, you can't draw any conclusions. It's just all about building confidence, as Steven Garcia was talking about earlier. Like it's all about having something to feel good about. So you go into Kentucky on the highest of highs possible. That's what you need to do.
Right. Now, you're going to probably be mad at my dad for this, okay? Because he said this Saturday, right? He said this Saturday while I was watching Let's Get Our Shit Kicked In, okay? Right. He looked at me. Now, if he's listening, listen, I get what he was trying to say, okay? But I also tried to explain to him that, he thinks Rattler is trash and there's a reason why he got benched. And I was like, Dad, when he was at Oklahoma, he had 5-star players around him. Here, he does not have that. He's got to basically do it on his own. And if you got a offense where the only way you can move the ball is by your quarterback running around, that's a problem. I mean, you got receivers that can't get open. for some unknown reason. Yes, we had some success against Arkansas, but you got wide receivers that can't get open. They can catch the ball, but they just can't get open. Okay? And I told my dad, I was like, look, whenever he was at Oklahoma, he had 5-star athletes spreaded all over the field at Oklahoma. Okay? There's a difference between there and here. And right now, we're not where we need to be. And do I still believe in Beamer and this coaching staff to some people on this coaching staff to an extent? Yes. But if we wind up sputtering against South Carolina State and Charlotte on offense, I will be that guy, Chris, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. I will be that guy that says those words. You ain't even going to have to do it. I will be that guy. I don't give a damn. Like, I'm to that point.
I'm surprised you weren't in Columbia today helping Sat move his stuff out.
Oh, if the offense plays like crap the next 2 weekends, oh, I will be. I remember now, I'll be at the state game. I will be at the state game, but my aunt ain't going to be too happy about it being a noon kick, though.
Yep, bright and early. You better be there. Better get your ass in
I'm
cola.
like, well, the Gamecock walks at 10, so we got to be there before 10.
Better wake your ass up.
So, I'll be up by 8. At the latest, 8:30. I'll be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready to go.
Indeed. Robbie, looking forward to it, my guy. I think we're going to kick SC State's ass personally, and it'll be a sad bunch of Bulldogs going back to Orangeburg. But either way, that game's in 2 weeks. We'll focus on Charlotte right now. And, yeah, I mean, we need to play well, no question. So, phone lines are ringing off the –
going to be on ESPNU, right?
This weekend, ESPNU, yes.
The big channel, right?
ESPNU, which is a big channel, but it's not the main channel.
So that's what I meant.
It's not streaming.
It is a big
yes,
channel, but
yes.
not the big channel.
Right. It's not. Yeah, it's not like a
I'll
streaming.
be watching it.
Yes.
Right. I'll be watching it, but and then I will definitely be there in 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. You have a great rest of your Monday, and leave the dumb stuff to me, and go Gamecocks.
Robbie, I appreciate it.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, man. Take care. Here, let's jump to the phone lines. We got calls.
Bree?
Phone lines ringing off the hook. Here we go. Bree, what's going on? How are you?
What's up, Chris? So, hey, guys, it's not all doom and gloom. I uploaded a lot of videos just now, premiere them and stuff. There's a lot of breakdown on the offense. I haven't gotten to the defense. I don't know if I'll get to it. This was a lot of work to do the offense, guys. When you see the breakdowns on the plays, you'll understand, and I don't have Wi-Fi. Guys, it wasn't that bad. Chris, what did I tell you the other day about the balance effect? What was going to happen this game that Marcus Satterfield was going to try to do?
I don't know. Tell me. My brain's scrambled eggs right now.
All right. So we talked about it the other day. We said he didn't run the ball enough. The criticism was in Arkansas he didn't run the ball enough. And I said, watch, he's going to bounce back and he's going to run the ball too much in this game. And we had 34 passing plays and 30 rushing plays, almost a 50-50, perfectly balanced offense. But guess what? Only tells me we could do it, by the way. So we might not need to be as pass-heavy as we were thinking, because we have a lot of good notes on the O-line and things like that coming up, guys. But it was very balanced. Spencer nobody got sacked, so there's none of those, extra rushing plays in the tallies or anything.
Right.
And Spencer only scrambled twice. So the numbers are the numbers. There was basically 30 rushing plays and 34 passing plays. It was pretty even split. And certainly the question comes in some of those big calls, why are we running plays in these third downs? And those were those running plays that he overbalanced. It's like, I've been overpassing. Let's try these third down runs right here. Coach Beamer alluded to the fact that he had given Satterfield some heads up. Hey, we're going to go for it. It's basically 4-down territory. And some of those plays may have been the case, but, in my plays breakdown, you'll hear me talk about, the situations where it's like, yeah, but maybe I'd have liked to have had 2 shots with Spencer throwing it right here versus, a long third down run.
And so those were actually going to end up being the things that cost us performing better. The breakdown in the analysis I had shows that the O-line stood up. We had really good run plays. We actually did well on our run plays. We had few negative plays. So there were opportunities. The issue actually did come back a lot of times in key situations and maybe some coaching decisions. So that was, you hear people going, oh, fire Satterfield and all this. Now, and stop me if you want to get over it in, man.
No,
I got a lot.
Yeah, no,
okay?
go ahead.
I've got a lot. Okay.
I got you.
I've got a lot here. So, I wrote some notes about what I was going to focus on. Like I said, the O-line actually held up well. Satterfield had some really good play calling. They did a lot of the same stuff I was telling you guys last week. They did line up in the formation, the A formation, with a single back, and they lined up in shotgun. And they interchanged those in tempo situations where they keep the same personnel on the field, but be in a different formation. And that worked out really well. Guys, I had somebody say to me, well, I don't think we can get Spencer under center that often and be performing well because of our O-line breakdown. Well, actually, every time we were in the ace formation, and we were in it quite frequently, we had great performance from that formation. So under center, Spencer did really well. And I'm going to talk about why I think that there's a reason for that, a little bit going forward. But let's just focus on, I didn't think that Marcus Satterfield's play calling was all that bad. He had he went into the formations and used the kind of bunch setups and things that I kind of suspected he was working towards. Minus, he didn't have Janine Bell in the backfield. I could go on about that. I'm going to see how that develops, and we'll just leave it at that one. I had initially thought Janine shouldn't be back there, and then you heard me last week talking about how actually he could be. So we'll just see how he develops that and let that go. But the formations went smoothly. I heard one of the broadcast announcers talking about how Georgia doesn't get any penalties when they're subbing all these defenders out and all this stuff. Well, actually, with the complexity, too, of our offense and how they're shifting in and out of these different formations and not getting any, illegal formation penalties and stuff, they played really clean, guys. They played really clean. That had them prepared to be in these different formation. The only formation that I didn't like that Satterfield kept going to, and I break these down in my videos, he kept doing this, basically no running back in the backfield. He's got 3 wide receivers in the backfield set. And it was really weird. And I broke those down and why I thought they were really weird and just completely unnecessary. It could have been, those plays could have probably been replaced with just a 2-back set like I had discussed before with Jaheim in the backfield with a running back. That would have been probably where I'd like to have seen that set. And he didn't really go to that set because he took Jaheim mostly out of the backfield. But he did this several times where he had several receivers in the backfield and no running back anywhere, not on the field at all. So, it was just like, well, I guess we're passing here. We put Amari and Brown in motion a lot, but we never handed it off to him. We put him in motion, threatened a jet sweep with him. I don't know how many times. We never handed off to the guy. And that's going to lead me into my discussion about him versus Joyner. Okay, Chris. You said, and you've been the one calling it out, going, why is Joyner not in the game? There's a little bit more to it than an injury. Joyner had enough time in this game for us to see he's healthy right now. Now, did he just get healthy just for this game? Possibly, sure. Okay. But right now, I feel like Brown is getting the reps that Joyner should. Okay. Brown is in there because he's a speed threat and whatnot. We're not even handing the ball to him. We haven't gotten the ball to him. We haven't done anything with Brown all game. Just moved him around in motion and made him like a smoke, like a smoke screen basically. And the defense never, they weren't really biting on it because I highlight one play, in my videos where I'm like, dude, look, Brown's right here. He could have been open right here, but the defense isn't even really keying in on him at all because every other player on the field has been targeted except for him. You know what I mean? I'm like, he's not even getting a target right here. And it was just like, wow. So I think Joyner's a more physical player. I saw him at the end of the game where the announcer goes, "Whoa, Joyner just took a hard hit." But really, me watching it, I thought it was like Joyner put the hit on the guy. You know what I mean? It was more like Joyner made, he lowered that shoulder and put the boom on him, And I think Joyner's just a more physical player, and Brown's somehow getting his play time. So when you guys keep asking about Joyner, maybe he's recovered. He was recovering from an injury, but I also feel like, Brown's getting his reps. Okay, let's go back to the O-line. And then, because Steven Garcia touched on Spencer's play, okay? And, okay, the O-line, actually, I only noted 3 plays through like 7 drives, because towards the end, I noted things. I did things a little differently. I quit breaking the plays down by the time they were bringing subs in and things. It was a lot of work. So the first 7 drives or whatever that I do is what really needed to be focused on. More often than not, the O-line was holding up, and in the plays that looked like Spencer was getting pressure, he honestly wasn't navigating his pocket properly. You have to pay attention when somebody's and Georgia was throwing some stunts in, guys. I mean, they were certainly mixing it up on our O-line and making it difficult, but overall they didn't do bad with it. And there were when they did get penetration, there were opportunities where O-lineman could have recovered had Spencer moved up into the pocket, or moved a little left into the pocket, or a little right into the pocket. But Spencer was backing up a lot of plays. He's just on his feet going backwards. And it's like there's this assumed pressure at him. It's like, oh, he's under pressure the whole time. He's going backwards the whole game. But when you go back and look, well, yeah, he needed to move laterally sometimes in the pocket, horizontally, in the pocket, so that he could avoid some of the pressure. I have basically what I'm noting is the big problem for Spencer right now is you've got to learn how to navigate, and Steven Garcia said it, a SEC pocket. Okay? Yeah. He is in the SEC, not the Big 12, and the pocket is a lot different. Okay? The way things form, the pocket forms, and all the pressure and all the things that happen, it's different. And I think the guy's just going to have to learn to navigate it. I do not think, and going on to the next thing, guys, lay off the Luke talk. Luke's not it. I mean, it's not that Luke's bad, guys, but he's not going to outperform Spencer in most ways. Okay, I know he came in and got our touchdown, but guys, our first string was still on the field against their second and third guys. Keep that in mind. I know we subbed out a few players, but we still had a first string O-lineman in. Okay, so, and then he still threw a pick. Okay, he still threw a pick in one of those drives. Guys, lay off. I'm not saying Luke's bad. I got some good notes on Luke, in there too. But you can't just go into the, hey, let's fire Satterfield. Let's get Luke in and let him play, and based off of what we saw. We did see a lot of good O-line play, guys. We saw successful runs when we probably didn't think we were going to get it. I would have liked to have seen him leaned on the pass. Satterfield have leaned on the pass in some of those key situations and been a little bit more pass heavy than he was. It was like I said, it was like the hangover effect from all the criticism from last week. He didn't run the ball enough. Now he's going to run it a little bit too much. Right. We got a young staff. We have a young staff that's in a tough league, and most of them don't have SEC experience. Okay, so that's going to take some time for these guys to figure out, how they should do things in certain key moments, guys. I still see a bright future coming. They're doing good with their recruits. The only thing, like I said, with Satterfield was he was looking like he was still trying to play with the offense a little bit too much. Now, I told you that the other day. Georgia's not going to be the game for him to play with it and try some new formation. He needs to have it a little bit better in his mind when he gets there. Steven Garcia talks about why we didn't see any deep passes. I will tell you that Georgia looked like they had those deep passes covered. They were cutting off our deep threats really hard. They were keying in on Wells. They couldn't get him the ball.
Yeah. Didn't have a catch.
Hard.
Didn't have a catch.
No, yeah, he didn't. Yeah, and that was even we're trying to force them some passes just to get them into the game. You know what I mean? They were keying in on Wells super hard. They were prepared for Wells. Brooks did great again. Wells and Brooks are my two favorites, guys. I'm telling y'all, those are our two best wideouts. I can tell y'all why it's not banned. I don't want to get into that. I did talk about that on one of my videos, and I can talk about that on another day. I don't want to clog up Chris's show too much. The other things I had noted was where like Austin Stogner, like missed some blocks, and you had noted something like that as well. So there were some times where the O-line had looked like, oh crap, we didn't get penetration there or something like that. And it would look like it was the O-line had broke down. And once again, actually the O-line did fine. And I know I'm harping on that. And I actually said that in my notes, and I said I was thoughts for the show. Focus on good O-line play, because we had it. It was actually there, guys. Right. Okay, our O-line play was really good. And especially, let's consider who we were playing. Okay. Our O-line played really well against anybody, honestly, and from my breakdowns. And even more considering who they played against, they did really well. So I know we're still in this worry about the O-line because of last year and all the struggles and this and that. And then, the Georgia State game, it didn't look like the O-line was good. Well, the O-line looked good in Arkansas. Spencer had clean pockets. We were able to move the ball on the ground and just didn't do it enough times. The O-line looked good against Georgia. We made holes. We got our guys through. We made key first downs with our running game. Okay, in power sets. The things I was starting to note later in the game too. We were switching with power sets and things like that were obvious lines, and Georgia did not shut us down. We got penetration. Our line pushed. And we had some great plays from our O-line. Just honestly, the question marks are going to come back to coaching decisions in key moments. I thought that we should have taken a field goal when we were down 14-0. The announcers are going, well, you can understand why Beamer's not doing it. You're going to need touchdowns to beat Georgia. And I'm going, hey, yeah. Okay, yeah, I get you, but let's get some points on the board. Yeah. You know, let's let Mitch Jeter let this leg out a little bit. You know, let's make sure he's ready for a clutch situation somewhere else. I know we're focusing on winning this game. Yeah. But steps to winning the game are taking points when you can get them. That could change the momentum of the game. Yeah. You turn around another possession later, it's 4th and something, and you're in opponent territory and you punt it. After you just went for it the last time in opponent territory and didn't take a field goal opportunity, the next time you get to opponent territory, you're not quite in field goal position and you punt it. Now it works out. Our defense comes up with its first stop of the game after that punt, and we get the ball back in good position again, and then same thing though, we get it back into opponent territory on another 4th down, and these were some of those key decisions on which plays we called, of course, as well, but also once again a decision not to go for it and to punt it again. And then Georgia comes back down and gets a field goal out of that. Yeah. You know what I mean? So,
Bree.
It's like,
Bree, you got 30 seconds. Put a pin in it. We got phone lines are ringing off the hook. I'm not trying to cut you off. But,
all right, buddy.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Yeah,
you're good.
Hey, man, I told you, cut me off. I got a lot of analysis and a lot of notes. But that was about the end of it, buddy. Guys can check out my videos and please make comments. I can't do anything live, anything like that. I won't be doing any show anytime soon or anything like that. So I'll just be attending as a guest of yours and trying to help when I can. Obviously, Monday's going to be, when I have the most notes and things to go over, and we can go over smaller things later. You guys have a good day. Chris, thanks for letting me call in. I hope this stuff was helpful. And we have a lot of positives, guys. There's a lot of good stuff, I promise you.
Bree, I appreciate it. And I posted your YouTube link, by the way, in the chat. So definitely everybody go check that out.
All right. Y'all have a good one.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. Thank you. Great stuff. Again,
later.
Phone lines ringing off the hook. Let's get into it. Aaron, what's up, man? How are you?
Man, I'm chilling. Boy, I just knocked that out. First of all, who in their right mind thinks the offensive line has played good at all this season? They played better. They played noticeably better each game, but not good. We wouldn't say that. Now, before the season started, my big takeaway, what I wanted to see was Spencer Rattler translate to the SEC. I was wondering how he was going to translate to the SEC. Mm-hmm. And I don't think he's translated very well, but he has played two really good teams so far. So you can't really put that on him. But I told you last week I was disappointed with the way he was playing because I expected more. And I ain't nobody. I don't coach. I'm not a booster, so it ain't no big deal to me. But he hadn't lived up to my expectations. The Georgia game.
Yeah.
Who really thought we were going to win this game?
Yeah, I don't think anybody did.
Yeah, like you would have liked them to put up a fight. And not that I'm the biggest Phil Kornblum fan. You know, I kind of grew up on him, listening to him on the radio. I'm not the greatest Phil Kornblum fan. You can understand why he asked that question, but it's kind of a BS question because you can't ask a coach of a college football team something like that.
Well, I mean, it's like what's Beamer gonna say? Like, yeah, they've given up. Like, I mean, he's obviously not going to say that. So,
you understand the question from a fan perspective because we expected more fight.
Right.
And when you don't see that fight, you figure in your mind that the team is giving up. But you can't ask Shane Beamer that type of question of a coach because he has to come out. He has to give you a verbal back smack because he can't say, yeah, my boys have given up. Just a disappointing weekend at home. You get freaking throttled in front of the whole country. I want to see, and I'm not talking about Charlotte or South Carolina State, but I want to see how this team rebounds. I mean, Kentucky's had our number Kentucky's had the Gamecocks number for a decade now. What are they? 8 of 9?
Yeah.
And that's gonna be a telltale sign. If the Gamecocks, to me, it's not a must-win game, but it's a put up or shut up. It's a big inflection point in the season. I think it could have the effect like Dan Mullen. You remember after that Kentucky game, Dan Mullen, I think, kind of quit on the entire university. And I don't think Shane Beamer's going to quit, but it's going to be interesting to see how this team reacts, how they perform after the Kentucky game. And just Spencer Rattler, I mean, it's not like I said. I expected more from him. He's the most talented quarterback in South Carolina history, but I expected more. I expected him to make a bigger impact than he has already. And I think that's why a lot of people were saying 9, 10 games because they expected him to like be lights out. But then again, your caller before said he doesn't have 5-star receivers and running backs, but he also doesn't have one of the premier play callers in the freaking country calling plays.
I think to your point, I think one of the disappointing things for me is that I really was hoping that Rattler would have the effect of making his teammates around him better. You know, I guess it's kind of hard to quantify that at times, and football's not basketball or what have you. But like, I really wanted to believe that he himself was going to make his teammates better. I don't know that I've really seen that. You know what I mean? I don't know that I've been able to point to and say he himself with his play is elevating everybody else around him. I don't know that that's really the case.
So before Spencer Rattler was even considering South Carolina, on the website that you how can I say this? I don't want to plug another website on your show. The website the guy you have on Thursday.
Right.
He himself said this is before Spencer Rattler was even considering South Carolina. As far as I know, he said himself that he didn't think of Lincoln Riley's play calling, and just like remembering him saying that and watching the play, because he was saying something like he was like a 1-2 read guy, and he doesn't think South Carolina is a 1-2 read system. So it would be really difficult for him to translate. And remembering that and watching him play is like, it opens your eyes when somebody tells you something and you see it, And it's just interesting to watch it all play out. And that's why, like in the season, that's why we talk about it. And those guys are on the field playing, because you never really know. But listen, man, I'm gonna knock out the rest of these steps, man, and listen to your show. I'm gonna holler at you, brother. Have a good one.
Always appreciate your call, my friend. Thank you so much. Get after it. Appreciate it. Great stuff, guys. I will not jump into a break if y'all want to keep the calls coming, man. The phone lines have been ringing off the hook, so I will not jump into a break if y'all want to continue to call in, man. Again, this show is for y'all. This Therapy Monday is for y'all. Y'all want to call in, voice your opinions. Obviously, we dropped the podcast this morning, episode 704. I gave you my full thought. Show's about an hour long. I gave my full takeaways from the game against Georgia on Saturday. Thoughts of Marcus Satterfield and the play calling and everything in here. What's going on, man? How are you?
What's up, man? So I had one question about something. I saw that clip with Muschamp when, he came off the sidelines and, the horde of Carolina players that went to, go greet him or, give love, whatever that may be. I couldn't help but feel like, we hated Muschamp so much, but, and I think about that comment that Beamer made about, how he made that sly comment towards Muschamp about how the culture change was in the facilities. I understand the comment, but it feels like that's not backed up by the fact that half the Carolina squad went and greeted Muschamp and gave him love.
Yeah. I mean, they are his guys. I mean, they've all got love for him. I mean, Marshawn Lloyd said it during the week last week, how much he loved Muschamp. And I don't expect them really to feel any different type of way, man. I mean, they a big part of them coming to South Carolina, I would assume, was him. You know what I mean? You're not going to come play for a coach you hate. So it's just, what you go through when you transition a roster and when you take over. And I mean, it's just, it's not like they can cut all the Muschamp guys, because then you'd be cutting out half the roster. You know what I mean? So that's why I've said before with Beamer, man, like I'm frustrated right now for sure, but I don't think you can really even start to cast judgment on Shane Beamer until he's got a roster full of his dudes. I'll be excited just next year. I think you need to play probably 3 freshmen on the offensive line. Guys like Tree, Trovon Bowe, Marquis Anderson. Like, those guys need to play. Like, I'm excited to see a crop of Beamer dudes and just see what they do. You know what I mean? Just see what they do. But, yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised they showed him love in the post game, and it just is what it is, I guess, man. But I get what you're saying with like the culture change, and doesn't feel like it's being backed up when you lose by 41 on your home field. So
yeah, and as for Satterfield, man, we have a way better squad this year than we did last year, and I don't really understand. It felt like it's so weird to think, with a transfer or a graduate assistant starting quarterback, we felt like we had more of an offensive identity last year than we even do this year with a 5-star transfer and Antoine Wells and Shaheem Bell and Lloyd. I mean, do you feel like, maybe the RB room is what is kind of holding things up? Because last year, the Quandre White went off. Like, the Quandre White was a beast. And, even Kevin Harris, when he started to recover more from, his injury, and maybe the RB room is holding us back.
I don't hate the group of backs we have. I mean, I think Lloyd has looked healthy, and I think he's a solid player for sure. I don't know if he's going to quite meet the expectations everybody had for him on the recruiting trail, but I mean, I think he can be a very productive back for you. Christian Beal-Smith, he should, I feel like, be productive, right? Did it at Wake. I like Juju McDowell a lot. So, I mean, bottom line is we're just not opening up enough holes. We're not balanced enough. We're not running the football well enough. Because I agree with you, man. It's maddening. You know what I mean? Because it almost feels like in these first 3 weeks, we're not a great judgment of our football team. I mean, again, we all knew we were going to be sitting here 1-2, and it's much tougher to actually endure it and go through it than it is to sit there over the summer and go, well, we'll be 1-2. We'll be fine, right? It's a lot harder to sit here and endure it. I don't think we have bad running backs. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying we have the best running back room in the SEC by any stretch, but I don't think we have bad backs, man. I just think the holes aren't really there. And, I felt like we actually did have a couple on Saturday where it was like we were one guy away from sort of breaking it open. And you watch, you go back and watch some of the film as well, and there were some holes that were missed. So just across the board, man, it's just not good enough. I don't think the backs, though, I don't think we have bad running backs necessarily. I just, for whatever reason, again, the running game can't get going. I think a lot of it, again, is offensive line. I just, you can't sit there and say, well, the offensive line's playing good. It's like, well, we're averaging 3 yards a carry. So riddle me that. You know what I mean? So, but there were a couple that were almost broke. That really, I think, man, that really is the key to solving the offensive woes. I mean, Rattler's got to play better. We got to find an identity. But I think it's hard to find an identity when you can't run the ball. When you just can't run the ball with like any sort of success. You know what I mean? So I mean, I could almost look ahead to Kentucky and tell you just as simply as like, if we run for less than 100 yards, we will lose. There's just no question. If we run for 150 or more, we will win. It's like historically when South Carolina has run the football well, we've won a lot, and when we don't run it well, we just don't tend to win a lot. So it really, I think, is as simple as that. But I like the backs we have. I do. I like the backs we have. I just, I'm hoping again starting this weekend against Charlotte, we see more out of them, obviously, in the entire running game. But I wouldn't say, well, it's because we have a bad running back room. I don't know that I'd go that far.
How many points do we need to score against Charlotte for Satterfield to prove the haters wrong?
The limit does not exist, my friend. I mean, for Satterfield, well, I mean, here's the thing. I don't know that any amount of points will prove the haters wrong in a game against, Charlotte, right? Like it's folks are gonna take it with a grain of salt. Folks are gonna take it with a grain of salt, whether it's fair or unfair, just because it's Charlotte. But I tell you, man, I don't think it's unreasonable to say like we need to score 50, dude. I mean, we really do. Like I looked at these games against Charlotte and SC State as games that, man, these are great opportunities to get Tanner Bailey and Braden Davis and Luke Doty and maybe even Dak Joyner and Colton Gothard and get all these backups play. But I tell you, man, like with the struggles you've had, I don't know, dude. I think you need to leave the ones in there for quite a while. I think into the fourth quarter, like the ones need to get as many positive reps as humanly possible. You know what I mean? Like they need it. They need it badly. I mean, this is an offense that needs in-game reps. They need to have success in game. So I don't think it's one of those things where you're like, well, we're up big at half. We'll just take Rattler out. Like, no. You need to keep going. So, dude, I think you need to score as much as possible. I mean, I think every single time you get the football, you need to score. Like that's the way I look at it. So, I mean, you can do the math from there, man. You have 10 possessions, 7 touchdowns and 3 field goals. Like you need to score. You need to score flat out. I mean, I think that's the goal. I don't know if that you set an exact number, but into the 40s and 50s, I think that's where you need to be.
If Rattler's interception to touchdown ratio, if he has more interceptions to touchdowns by after South Carolina State, do you think it's time to start looking at other quarterbacks?
That'd be pretty brutal, wouldn't it? Because that would mean he did not play very well in those 2 games. I don't know, man. It's just tough to say. I still think Spencer Rattler is by far our best option on the roster. It's interesting. I think there's a lot of people, and I get it, right? People have loyalties and biases, and that exists. I think there's a lot of people that they don't like the fact that Spencer Rattler came in here as an outsider and just took the job. And then a guy like Luke Doty, you know, is sort of like, quote unquote, paid his dues and he's all Gamecock. And, you know, Rattler's just sort of or at least we thought, a 1-year thing, just this outsider, right? So I think that makes a lot of people want Luke Doty to take the job. It's like, well, at least put the guy in that's truly a Gamecock, not this guy who just came in here, right? But like from the talent side of things, the talent perspective, Rattler's the guy, man. Like it's not even remotely close. So would we be any better than 1-2 right now with anybody else at QB? The answer is no. The answer is no. We wouldn't. We'd still be exactly 1-2. Exactly 1-2. So
Yeah.
but to
No,
your point,
I agree with you.
no, for sure. But to your point, Rattler's got to play well. I mean, God forbid, man. I mean, he needs a couple of 3, 4, 5 touchdown type of games, you know, and no picks.
Yeah.
That shit's got to stop.
It just
So.
it just feels like, you know, Beamer's head coach, you know, it doesn't matter what your rating is when you come into the Carolina squad. It doesn't matter. Even, I mean, it's as simple as no matter how he did at Oklahoma, if it's not translating over to South Carolina, then, you know, you got to make changes. You got to be brutal. Doesn't matter if Spencer doesn't like it or not. He's got to own up to, you know, his mistakes and his performance. I feel like that as a head coach, you know, is not, you know, it's not going to create a controversy. It's more so putting the best guy in. And like you said, I agree with you. You know, you think about the Arkansas game. Arkansas had an offensive scheme that played so hard against our biggest weakness on defense, which is run defense, unfortunately. And, you know, you had a total of like 400 pounds between the quarterback and the running back. There was no stopping them on third and short. But, you know, I hate so much on that Georgia game for how we played. But then, you know, you think about Arkansas. If we got blown out by Arkansas like we did at Georgia, then, you know, I feel like maybe there'd be more reason to think more about what we can change on offense.
Yeah, I mean, again, we need to see progress these next 2 weeks. There's just no other way to put it, man. Big time progress. So, yeah.
I think it's time to start, you know, Shane Beamer needs to, you know, maybe an NFL scheme is just too much for these guys. Maybe, you know, I worry that maybe even with new 4-star, 5-stars to develop, maybe even then it will be too much for those guys to understand something more hybrid between collegiate and NFL for them to adapt for if they go to the NFL, but still simple enough for them to understand, you know, that we get shit done.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing. I would say this too, because everybody's saying fire Satterfield right now. Like Satterfield ain't getting fired midseason. It's just not. I mean, at least right now, I just don't see it happening. Now, would they possibly do something at the bye week? I don't know. I don't know if they would or not. I don't know if Beamer is going to be willing to pull the plug on that. But I have to believe behind closed doors, there's some sort of adjustment being made, dude. There has to be. There has to be. So
yeah. It's just more so, you know, my thing with Satterfield is what I'll give to him is he is a great recruiter. Like, you know, you have a lot of these guys that, you know, a lot of these higher end recruits that we have rave about Satterfield. It's kind of like how Muschamp was, even though his performance didn't translate. You know, you have to wonder maybe recruiter or maybe Satterfield steps down more as like a co-offensive coordinator, more heavy on the recruiting side. Then we have a guy who's more in line towards play calling, take the reins on play calling, so that we don't lose those, you know, that momentum on recruiting.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing too, is just to the point of the offensive side, man. I mean, Beamer talked last night in his weekly teleconference. I think Beamer thought the play calling wasn't all that bad, believe it or not. I mean, take it for what it's worth, but you know, it felt like to me, he kind of felt like that, you know, wasn't all as bad as it maybe looked. I don't know, man. I don't know. That ain't gonna make anybody feel warm and fuzzy inside, for sure. But yeah, if you look at his quotes, man, I'm trying to pull up the quote right now while I'm on the phone with you, but he, let's see, it was in his teleconference last night. Yeah, I mean, you know, put guys in position to make plays. Plays need to be made. Yeah. So, pleased with the overall look of the offense and with the play calls. He understands the why of every call. what the game plan is and what they're trying to get done, it's not good enough, but knows they'll be better. So, but I think too, like if anybody's expecting he's going to come out and just throw Sad under the bus, it's just not going to happen. So,
what kind of intrigues me a little bit is that, you think about how dominant Clayton White's defense last year, and, coming into this preseason of this year, Beamer talked about how there was more of a balance on how the offense is playing against our own defense. And I almost wonder if maybe, our defensive personnel is not playing so hot. I mean, everyone raves about Devontae Reed, and I haven't heard Devontae Reed's name once since the season started.
Yeah. It's been Nicky Manwari, right? Hadn't been Devontae Reed. So,
yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to head out. Thank you for answering my call, Chris.
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate the call. Thank you so much.
All right, man.
Yeah, man. Take care. Good stuff. Guys, we'll just continue to roll through till 2 o'clock. You guys get your calls in 843-790-3377. That is 843-790-3377. It's interesting, guys, what we're seeing right now. It's interesting. Again, I'm still fully, on the Shane Beamer train. It's year 2. As long as recruiting stays good, programs being built. But I think what you're seeing right now on social media, right? Some of the, at least just some, I think it's in the minority, but some of the response, not even Beamer's to the pressures of being a coach here. Zachary, what's going on, man? How are you?
Oh, I'm good, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing well. Appreciate you asking. What's going on?
Well, Chris, I'm hearing everything about this. I'm hearing everything about, like, Dad needs to be fired and people wondering what's going on. But you know what? I think we need to focus on the next 2 weeks. What can we do the next 2 weeks? Is like, can you find something that works within these next 2 weeks? Defense, can you get healthy? Because, like, I think that's one of my main concerns. Like, the defense is getting hurt a lot, and a lot of players, that key players, are going out. So can the defense get healthy in these 2 weeks? And can the offense figure something out and learn? Like, I just feel like these guys need some confidence. And it's like, and a lot of people just, I don't feel like people are being reasonable, because it's like, you're going against Georgia State to start the year off. That's like, it doesn't matter if they're in the Sun Belt. They're still a really good team. Then you go up against a top 10 team in Arkansas. Then you go up against the number 1 ranked team, Georgia, who are the returning national champions. That is an uphill. You were going against an uphill climb. It's not like you were starting off against Akron or whatever, like Elon or, Hawaii. You weren't playing those teams. Like, you're playing against 3 really good teams to start the year. And I feel like some people don't really notice that. By no means am I saying that everything's, okay and all, but it's still like, when you put someone through when you take someone through a buzzsaw, they're gonna get cut open. It's like, you know what I'm trying to say?
No, I hear what you're saying, and I think it's great perspective you're providing on the start to the season, the teams you've played, and all that. And I think that's fair. On the flip side, I don't think it's unfair looking at this game against Georgia. I don't think it's unfair to ask to be competitive. I don't think it's unfair. Like, I in no world, no matter how much better Georgia is than you. And you know what? I give Coach Ford in the comments hell on the Daily Crow, but he made the point earlier. We did nothing that, like, Furman wouldn't have done against Georgia. We looked no better. God, Samford lost by less than we did. So, like, what does that tell you? Like, I don't think I think that's where a ton of the frustration comes from. That's where the majority of it. It's not that you lost to Georgia. Everybody in their right mind picked you to lose to Georgia. It's just how it happened. I mean, again, we talked all summer about how you win and how you lose. Damn, dude. It's just, is it good enough to lose by 41? Is that good enough? It's a tough pill to swallow, man. It is, And I tell you this right now, what sucks, if we're being real, you look at Saturday, and it's hard not to say, and it's hard to avoid this fact, you're closer to Vandy than you are to Georgia. Much closer in regards to where you are as a football program. That's the harsh truth. That's the hard reality to face. You're closer to Vandy than you are to Georgia. So, I mean, I knew we had a long way to go, but holy shit, you know, it just. So I won't come down on any Gamecock fan. Nobody should be accepting of that. And I understand we gotta, you know, we all need to spin it to keep our hopes high and keep us going through the season, because there's a lot of football left. And like I said on social media, I said on the podcast, I'll say right here, I'm still optimistic that this team can use the next 2 weeks, get healthy, gain confidence, right? And go into Lexington and get a big win. That's exactly what I predicted over the summer, that, you know, you're going to get things together. This is going to be a 2 weeks to rally the troops, right? Play your best ball, figure it out, and go into Kentucky and put your best foot forward. And that's why I picked you to win in the preseason. But, you know, just all about how you win and lose. Losing by 41 ain't good enough. Bottom line. It's just not.
Yeah. And by all means, I'm not trying to, like, delude myself into saying that we are better than I think we are. But I'm saying that, like, when you look at the schedule, what the schedule put in front of you, and you look at all the factors that played a role in it, and you can honestly, and like I said, is that any excuse for what we put on the field? No, but I'm just saying, like, logically speaking, when you look on, like just from a logic standpoint, like, you know, like, by no means, like, I had us going 1-2 too. I was like, if you can possibly pull an upset, if you can pull off an upset against one, but you can't upset both of them. But I was saying, like, you're going to go 1-2 in Charlotte and SC State. We're going to be games that you need to just, like, put your best foot forward, rally, and if you get this team to have enough confidence and enough plays play your way, you can shock the world and beat Kentucky. Because, like, if you always want looking forward to Kentucky, Kentucky's not invincible. Like, neither are we, but, you know, I don't know. But, you know, I don't think Kentucky's as good. I think they're a little less good than I originally thought they were going to be. I thought Kentucky was going to be a little better, but I don't think.
And it's crazy. It's crazy we say that, and they're a top 10 team.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing about it too.
They're
like,
literally ranked 8th in the country, and we're talking about how trash Kentucky is. That's wild.
I'm not saying he's trash. I'm not saying they're trash. I'm just like, they're not. I thought they would be a little more dominant than they were, but they just don't. They don't look as dominant. They look like they have some weaknesses. I need to, like, actually look at them, but, like, from what I've seen from them, they don't look as what I was expecting them to look. Yeah, is what I'm saying.
No, I got you. I understand. No, that's a big one. Obviously, first you need to take care of Charlotte and beat them the way you should and gain confidence. Because, I mean, like you mentioned, man, the way the schedule sets up, and to your point, right, the schedule was not conducive to a big start and just a big season as a whole, just the way it plays out. Because you look after these 2 games, you got Kentucky, who's ranked 8th in the country. You got Texas A&M, who's ranked 23rd in the country. Then you got Mizzou and Vandy, right? Then after that, you got Florida, who's 20th in the country. Then you got Tennessee, who's 11th. Then you got Clemson, who's 5th. So, I mean, here's the thing. Here's what's crazy. Here's what's crazy when you look at this schedule. To get to bowl eligibility, you're going to have to beat a ranked opponent. Something that we have not done yet in the Shane Beamer era. Granted, I mean, he's only been here just a little bit over a year, but I'm just saying, you're going to have to win a game you're not supposed to win to get to bowl eligibility. So
and that's you know, that's, and I think I said this before we were kicking off the season. Like, I'm not too thrilled about this schedule and all the expectations that people are putting on us, because it's like, this schedule is really hard. Like, you got to play Arkansas, you got to play Georgia, you already know you got to play Kentucky, you already know you got to play A&M. You already know you got to play Clemson, but like Arkansas is really good this year, and Georgia is they're getting to the place where they're getting to Bama. Like they don't they reload instead of taking it down here. Kentucky's been really solid, and what Texas and Texas A&M. I mean, we can say what we want about Texas A&M, but they're still better than them. Missouri, you just haven't beat Missouri. Heck, last year you could have beat Missouri. You didn't beat Missouri last year. Clemson has owned you Clemson has owned us for the last couple of years, and Tennessee they just look like better. They just look better.
Right. Yeah, I mean, listen, the season's far from over, but
yeah,
you got to get it in gear and get it in gear fast. So
yeah, but like I said, I agree with you. Like that, something that Beamer's not going to do. Beamer's not going to throw Stat on the bus.
Yeah,
he's not going to fire him mid-season. He's not going to do any of that, and there are fans looking for him to throw Stat on the bus. He's looking for him to do that, fire him mid-season. But that's not how Beamer rolls. I think not only is Beamer trying to figure stuff out because this is his first time being a head coach, but I also think that he just wants to do these guys right because he wants that reputation of doing guys right because, who knows? This might not be his, he might get another chance somewhere else or there might be someone who's watching who might be like, man, maybe I want to come here. And then they see some stuff that Beamer's done and they're like, wait, I don't like the way he handled that situation. So I think he's trying to ride the fence between being by trying to handle situations right, but still getting the job done. And that's, a lesson he has to learn as a first-time head coach.
Indeed. Zachary, I appreciate the call, man. We're going to get one more in here, I think. Going to try to. No, great stuff from you as always, my guy. Somebody just called in. We missed it. If you want to try to squeeze it in real quick, we're about to hit 2 o'clock, but I apologize, guys. It's tough on a day like today because I want to let people go and make their points, but we start getting into these 10, 15-minute calls. It's like, all right, call in, get you 2-3 minutes, and we just got a lot of folks trying to call in today. So if you want to call back in, try to get in. I know Dave Garrett called in earlier, and we missed that as well. So got a couple texts. Does it seem like Sack calls his plays like he's scared, too conservative, just flat out calling the wrong plays? It felt weirdly conservative Saturday. It did. I just too conservative for that type of game when it's like we're already 26-point dogs, bro. Like, why not just throw everything at them? Hey, bro, it's not just predictable play calling on Coach Sapp, but also the strength and conditioning. Our guys are SEC strong, are not SEC sized or SEC strong. I mean, that's what I noticed. Here, one final call here. Ryan, what's up, man?
Good, man. How you doing?
Doing well. Appreciate you asking. What's going on?
I know you only got a couple minutes, so I'll make it quick. But first and foremost, appreciate the shout out.
Yeah.
And we talked about, it's not how you lose. It's just, it's not about losing. It's just how you lose. And it's not looked great. Obviously, schedule is a big part of that. We just need to really get it together these next couple of weeks. And I think if we were all writing down the schedule, wins, losses, I think it's going about as expected. The first 5 games of the season, I don't think there was really, you had the people out there that thought, maybe, you could steal a couple wins, but it's going as expected. So that first question mark of the season comes at Kentucky. You really need to go out there and you need to figure it out quick. So steal a win there, your season's still salvageable. I think we still have a good chance of having a good season. So the doom and gloom, people just need to take a break on that a little bit. Other thing I really wanted to say was shout out to Nick Inmanwari. That dude's a player. I'm really excited to see him play for the rest, next few years. I think he's really that first recruit that's just kind of taking it off. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping we have a lot more guys like him. But at the same time, front seven needs to step it up. There's no reason that your safety should have to be your leading tackler. I mean, as much as I enjoyed watching him play on Saturday, the guys in front of him have to be better. I mean, point blank.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's all I got for you. I'll try to get some more questions for you next.
Brian, I appreciate it, man. Always a pleasure. Great stuff from Brian Lattimore. And guys, we have hit 2 o'clock. Hey, thank you all so much for tuning in. Check out the podcast that dropped this morning, episode 704, full breakdown of the game over the weekend. Really, really good stuff, guys. Podcast Wednesday and Friday. And, of course, today, TDC every single day this week, noon to 2. And, of course, content bleeding out the eyeballs. Guys, that's going to do it. Appreciate you all tuning in. Have a great rest of your Monday, and we will talk to you all tomorrow.